Good day, friends, and welcome to the second episode of my beginner's playthrough of Iratus Lord of the Dead. Like I announced the last episode, today we're going to say hello to the Banshee, and good old Skeleton will take a rest at the mortuary because he was getting quite roughed up in the last episode, and today we're going to get into that fight here and going to see where we're headed during the next few episodes. Alright, so let's take a look at the Banshee. The Banshee is in herself a very supportive minion which has a lot of stress damage abilities. If you look at her skills here, it's very nice visible here. Her attack, which is defining her physical and magical attacks, is very low, while her dread rating, which is defining the stress attack power, is 10 times higher than the regular attacks. So you can already guess what that does for her. Thus, her skills are made like this. We're having one stress attack which moves a target randomly. We have one stance which starts attacking people which are moving during the stance. We have a supportive skill which restores the enemy to full sanity and gives Iratus some mana in return. It's good if you want to cast a lot of spells. And we have a skill which increases the dread of all minions for the next action, basically increasing all the stress strategies you have in mind. And next up is the Soprano, which deals a relatively low stress damage, but gives a debuff on the attack values of the enemies. And last but not least, the Howl, which does actually some minimal magical damage, but it will stun the first two people, or no, not stun, they skip their next turn. Something different than a stun. So that's her ultimate skill, which will require Rage. And it's only usable when the Banshee is standing at the first spots. If you look at her other skills, she seems to be best served at spot 3 or 2. Yeah, so she would like to stand here if you want to use her ultimate a little bit more often, or here if you want her to back up your combo. Generally, the Banshee serves two purposes for me. The basic purposes for her are dealing stress damage in a setup where you want to have it, or being a supportive character in form of debuffing the enemy's strength of attacks and costing them actions. So a debuffer in sort of a debuffer and a stress damager, that are the basic roles of the Banshee. And as we see here, we're having a first skill point. That was something I saved up for the episode 2, because during episode 1 we were talking about so many things that I didn't want to get into that as well. So here we have skill points. Every third level a minion gets a skill point, which lets you specialize one of your skills into 2 directions, and at level 15 we can finally upgrade the ultimate skill. But that's far away. I'm talking now, old man. I want to upgrade the Soprano first, because this is one of my favorite skills of the Banshee for the everyday usage of hers. And let's have a look at it. Every option here gives a certain stat bonus, so she'll get either evasion if we take that way, or luck, which increases your crit chance when we go that direction. So first off, we have a attack debuff and damage, and in this direction the debuff will also decrease the enemy evasion, and this direction it will intensify the strength loss of the enemies. So this is more of an offensive use, and this is more of a defensive use. I usually upgrade into Crescendo instead of Accelerando, because Crescendo is a very, very good basic use. This is a very skillable, spammable skill. There's no hurt in debuffing the enemies every turn by lowering their attack values. We're not going to lose anything out of that. So we're going to specialize this, and we have a few stat points. Since I'm aiming to use her right now more as a supportive character. I'm not going to increase her dread right away. I'll rather go for a few points of vigor first to give her some more HP. We're going to increase the damage later. Okay, so for our next combat, I want to swap out the Dark Knight and do a little bit of a different formation. Goes like this. Iratus, Bride of Iratus, Zombie, Banshee, and Skeleton will make a formidable choice here. And I have 2 skill points open on my Skeleton. I like to increase their armor ratings ASAP because it makes them quite stronger. Okay, enough explanations for today. We're going into the dungeon now. My zombie is a little bit roughed up, and I'm going to heal him. So we're going to the graveyard and get the skeleton out. I still don't know if this has been fixed, so we're going to the distillation again and heal everybody a little bit. Because on this low difficulty level, I'll be having no trouble with having sufficient parts.
The smell of successful alchemy.
There we go. So this healed him up as well, and that's why I did it. If it would have been only for the zombie, I wouldn't have done that. Okay, so today we're going to unleash the power of the zombie a little bit and introduce the Banshee a little bit more thoroughly. Okay, let's get into the dungeon. Okay. So we're up against 2 conscripts and a miner, and that's going to be a quite easy fight. We're even outnumbering the enemies. Okay. So one thing I really like to do is the Think of Him skill, because it buffs the Bride's capabilities just until the end of the combat, and well, more attack, more dread. Those are things I definitely don't want to say no to. Especially since we're now using this skill, and this will decrease the enemies' damage they do. This only works if the enemies are actually doing physical or magical damage. But, well, what I'm talking there. The enemies are dealing no stress damage, we are undead. Played too much Darkest Dungeon, my friends, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm using the skeleton again with the Astounding Fortitude, and I'm not doing anything with this guy except for blocking. And the combination of the crescendo and his armor bonuses makes him pretty impenetrable to these guys. So, we didn't meet the zombie completely the last episode, but we had to introduce 4 people at once, so I'm not too mad about my missings there. So there's the volley, which deals just a direct magic damage to anybody. We have the buckshot, which deals damage to 1 target and 2 enemies behind that. So that's this one. And we have the igniting mixture, which will sets 2 people on fire. Always the target behind the guy gets inflicted by a damage over time effect. But I'm going for the buckshot here because we're having 3 people. And we got rid of the block skill here of this guy. Always a good thing. So I'm going to continue like this. Skeleton blocks for us. And they ignore the skeleton. I love it when that happens, but whatever. Okay, so this guy goes into Sinister Strike. I like to disrupt stances wherever I can. Even though my strategy is right now not aiming on stress damage. But the miner here seems to be quite susceptible here. Oh, and the Banshee also has a feature bonus. She increases the chance of enemy escaping, which opens up the option to stack her as well. But we're going to get into such topics later. Okay, so I'm going to buckshot the buddies here. So once somebody's stress bar is empty, they risk suffering a hard attack whenever they get new stress damage. So that's quite cool. Okay, whenever somebody on the enemy side turns insane, the game has several different outcomes. So this guy here is using all his remaining strength. He's losing actually 40% of his vigor every turn, but he gets 2 turns in a row. Quite dangerous. His insanity is the cowardice. We already knew that. I already talked about that one during the last episode. It increases. It'll make the other people here more stressed out. Bottom line. So I want to get rid of this guy as quick as possible, honestly. So we're going to use the Hail of Teeth. Chop chop. And I'm going to go into the Unassuming Strike, or what will do more damage. That's 22 to 24, and this is only stronger if they are buffed, so we're going to get that one. So this guy will die by his own insanity here. He will lose 40% of his maximum vigor, and I don't need to touch him anymore, like I said. So everybody on the enemy side is now insane at this point. So this opens up a rather easy victory, but I expect this much. So gonna use the buckshot here. A single target damage skill. Also quite nice. Oh, we're going to bite that guy.
This one voided its bowels just as it died.
Yeah, well, everybody wanted to know that, Iratus. Okay, so this guy's pretty stressed out, so let's try to kill him with stress. Let's do some more spooky things to him. Another warning shot. Spooked him to death. There we go. So this is the alternate way of killing people.
Towards my eternal kingdom.
Alright, so we have now some bones, a weapon, and a skull. Basically all the stuff we healed our minions with got replenished. And that's that. That's the supportive role of the Banshee. I really do like the soprano in combination with the skeleton's astounding fortitude, because this really makes a very robust tank out of the skeleton. Look at this guy, he almost took no damage. I mean, okay, these weren't too hard enemies. This is the easy difficulty. I don't want to over-exaggerate, but this is a very nice basic combo. Okay, so Mr. Skeleton is healed completely here. I'd say the zombie can take a little rest here too, because the next thing I wanted to introduce was a more stress-based setup. For this, we're going to create another Banshee, because I want to double stack the Banshee here.
Come, dear.
There we go.
Time for your
And today I'm going to use the brain. I'm going to show how brains work. We're just going to put it in here and instantly level 3 for her. So this one is going to be more specialized into dread damage. So maybe we're going to call her now the Spooky Banshee, just to discern her a little bit from the other guy. So here we have it. And next up will be... Oh, I have one more stat point left. I'm going to pick some more accuracy, whatever. Now we have the option of upgrading other skills. I don't want to upgrade Soprano here because I already have a Banshee which has this ability. No. I was thinking more about either the Scream or the... no. So, this skill is taking influence whenever enemies are moving. Sadly, I don't have too many skills right now which are able to move enemies, so I'll rather X this out. The Absorb Fear skill is quite something specialized, which I don't want to go into right now. The Wail would be a party-wide buff, which is quite interesting, because if we go into the Chilling Wail, we'll massively increase the dread rating of our team. Whereas this will increase both sides. I don't want to do this because Spooky Banshee is out for spooky combat style. So I'd say we're either going for this Or alternately, we're going to upgrade Scream. The one alternative is reducing the enemy evasion, and this one is stripping all the buffs from the target. I honestly want to go for the buff remover here first, because buffs can be really nasty. The earlier you have a option to strip enemies of buffs, the better. Honestly, buffs are evil on enemies. Okay, we're having a new talent for Mr. Iratus, so right now I could save up for new skills on the next tier here, but I was actually thinking about going for... where was it? There we are. There are always the square form skills are active skills and the round skills are passive skills. And I was considering to go for the Blackest Lodge, which will increase the dread. Because if we go for a stress-based combat style, why not go for it for real? Okay, so next up we're having to choose a new direction. I could go for this coffin or a more extensive way with more battles. I'll say I'll go for the coffin. I'm not a big fan of the extra fights here. So let's see what we're getting here. New boons. The minions attacks restore 15% of the damage dealt as mana. Okay. We're having every successful ability using grants the minion a chance to strip the enemy of all armor and resistance until the end of battle. Higher chance for single target ability, lower chance for AoE abilities. That's brutally strong. And the Sadist Hand increases damage by 10%. I'm going to pick the Acid Gland because this will make a fascinating use on her here. Keep in mind, these items are not switchable or re-equipable. Once you put it on somebody, it's stuck there. You can't move it anymore. But the combo here on the Soprano spam, removing enemy armor and resistance, that sounds lovely. Even if it is only a 25% chance for AoE abilities, I can alternately attack on single target here. Wonderful. Okay, thanks, Coffin. And let's get into the next battle. Okay. So I think we are set up fine, so let's get into this. So for this battle we're aiming to kill our enemies with fear and not with damage. So this is going to be a little bit different. So there's first up the Taskmaster, which will heal the enemy sanity if he dies. But honestly, I'll just leave him be. 30 sanity are not much if you're having your combo, your team set up like this. Okay, first up I'm going to use the Astounding Fortitude again. Later we're going to use the Shield Banger once we have enough rage, because it's a really strong AoE stress attack. Going to start though with a little Bone Spear to get rid of the block here. There we go. And this little buddy here goes into his block stance. Okay, so her job is to do stress damage. We could wail a little bit. Yeah, we're going to try that. So as you've seen, the skeleton is immune to buffs. And those guys are immune to taunts, but that's not really nothing really new. So let's get out the crescendo. With these buffs, it's going to be extra strong. And a new guy here is the guard, but the guards are pretty, well, mundane people. The only specialty here is they are the first enemies with armor. Looking at these guys, they all have no armor. The guards are the first people wearing real armor. But, well, since we're using stress damage, doesn't matter. So we could use Futile Hopes, but this is not really something I want to do. We're just going for a Hollow Stare, and I was considering of going on this guy first. I'll try to kill the Taskmaster last, so let's use the Shield Banger. They weren't attacking my skeleton anyway, so this guy went hopeless now. So So what happens to hopeless people? They lose all their armor, all their blocks and wards, and their luck gets lower and the damage gets lower. Luck, anti-luck is impacting your crit rate negatively. Or I thought it was... I have to look it up. If I remember correctly, it even increases the chance of getting struck critically. I don't know that anymore, though. So we're going to use the Scream now. 42 damage. She's really hurting at this point. Buff got removed. The Taskmaster will flee next turn. We're on a winning spree here.
Die so that you can live.
So the real strong part about the stress strategy is here. The enemies are getting massively debuffed. This guy has a will attack 3 out of 4 turns his allies. This guy has increased damage, but he also takes a lot more damage. It's quite dangerous. I'm trying to get rid of this guy first. So we're going to stare at him. This skill gets stronger with buffs and debuffs on the target, so that's also quite good. Since we're debuffing a lot, this is actually hurting them quite hard. So the first hard attack happened here. There we go. They start smacking each other. Alright. So I'll just keep using the crescendo here, since it works that good.
Be worth something in death.
And right now, the enemies are getting... oh no, it doesn't stack. Okay. I talked nonsense there. I didn't read that correctly. I'm sorry. Would have been too good. But honestly, having 2 Banshees in your formation... Sorry, I broke my code of conduct here. I got confused by asking myself how I could overlook this doesn't stack, but whatever. As you see now, it takes a little bit longer until you actually kill somebody. There is a percent chance sometimes to actually kill those guys with a heart attack when they have no more stress available, but as you've seen, sometimes that takes a while. Okay, we got Vampire Fangs. Restores 15% of the damage dealt as Vigor. Wonderful. And first artifact for Iratus himself, a Cannoneer's Garb. Wonderful. It'll give us spell power. Spell power increases several different stats on your spells, always a little bit differently. So we're going to go into the artifact screen. And, oh, I overlooked those war drums. Okay. Whoops. So, the war drums are giving initiative bonus for the first 2 turns of combat, which is quite nice because that means I'll get a chance to act way more during the first 2 turns. And, well, as long as we're not having any special things or doubles on any slots, we're quite good here. I'm not going to use the Strange Jar yet, because I don't need low-level brains as much as I will need high-level brains later. So let's keep going. This is the skeleton we were using, and we have now the ability to upgrade our skills. Something I really like in this combo is the Unnerving Fortitude. This results in a retaliation strike whenever the skeleton gets attacked. And it deals stress damage. This is wonderful for the strategy we're rolling right now. So I think I'm going to call this guy also Spooky Skeleton, just to discern them from the physical damage dealers a little bit better. So that's that. And we're going to increase his dread at this point. Okay, Mr. Dark Knight will get some upgrade too. For him, it's a little bit harder to make him as useful as the other people. One thing we could use here would be the upgrade of the Stare into the Void. So we would be basically having a way bigger single target skill. But what I do really like here is the upgrade on the Futile Hopes, to use it in a way that it changes to be triggered not when the enemy gets buffed, but when the enemy gets debuffed. That's something I do way more often in this combo, and it'll result in a follow-up attack whenever my Banshees start to AoE debuff people. So we're going to upgrade this into No Tomorrow. This is also a very, very strong thing to do, but it'll go into a different direction there. So we're going to increase the Dread here too, because this will make the skills also stronger. Okay, we're set. Let's get back into the dungeon. We're having two different ways, and for this video series, my main goal is to reach the surface as quick as possible, because we want to go for the next difficulty level as well, don't we? So, here's the Sacrificial Altar, where we can receive parts by sacrificing a minion and a random consumable. That's new. We're going to do that because honestly, I don't need the skeleton here too much. And oh my goodness, I forgot about the arena. Oh man, feels bad. Okay, whatever. For this special occasion, we're going to craft a new skeleton. So there we go.
Bones, just so uninspired, you know.
And let's go over there. Let's sacrifice that buddy here, and we're getting back a rare dust, which will give additional stat points when crafting a minion out of that. The sharpened bone, the minion's abilities ignore both blocks and wards. That's strong. And the gambling chip. All enemies gain vigor until the battle ends. Iratus gains 6 additional common parts. Okay, this will make the next combat harder, but it'll also give us bigger rewards. So we're going to use that, since the next fight is only having 3 enemies, and since I'm using a stress-based strategy, it doesn't matter if they have more vigor. Let them. It won't use them anything against me. Okay, so let's go. I think the HP will be sufficient for this fight, so let's get right into this. Okay. A band of conscripts, nothing too dramatic here, so let's go into the Unnerving Fortitude. And sadly, my Dark Knight is not in position yet, but we're going to use the Crescendo anyways. So she can't use her skill from this position, but that doesn't matter too much. So, I don't know, I'll try that. I don't know how much these people move. Some enemies move more than others. I haven't studied them well enough to know which enemies are prone to much movement during their combat behavior, but we're going to try that one. See how we see. Or skeleton missing the counter attack, but it's okay. So this guy's blocking. There we go. Sadly, Insanity doesn't count as a debuff, so we're not doing too much to he can't attack on that, but why is everybody missing so much? I'll just keep the No Tomorrow running at this point. So there we go. Oh, sadly only 2 triggered, but come on, what's wrong with the accuracy of my minions? Oh well, whatever. But it's quite noticeable that our enemies are absolutely helpless against this strategy. So, they're basically killing themselves while attacking my skeletons. There we go. Let's go for a shield banger. So, the Dark Knight, of course, works better when you're having a combo which delivers more debuffs. I'm right now only having 1 minion which is able to utilize this well. But, as you've seen, I just killed 3 people with that. There we go.
I'd hate to see plants using it as fertilizer.
Alright, so, we did quite good here. And that's the beauty of a stress-based build. Right now I was only using the double Banshee because I'm not using other minions yet, since I told myself we're only going for one new minion per episode. Next episode we're going to introduce the Wraith, and he will bring some more options for our roster. So I'm going to cut this episode here after we visited the Fountain of Restoration, where we will just peacefully heal up our minions, because I don't want to restore Iratus mana at this point. I'm not too interested in that. And we're going to the graveyard. I'm going to upgrade a little bit, and then we're going to say hi to the Spectre in the next to the Wraith during the next episode, and fight some more humans. But I'm having Digger's Souls, and I want to use them. Another thing I want to build here is the Obelisk. The Obelisk gives you Digger's Souls whenever you win a fight, but well, no, I don't want to use the Wraith I'm building, so we're going to go for something different. Where is it? There we have it. The Excavation gives you the chance of a random part after each fight. For each minion works like the following. We're going to build a little skeleton for that. There we go.
Humans become much sturdier when you strip them of their vital organs.
So we built that, and now the skeleton we used is working at the digging site and is giving us every fight a 45% chance of a random part. Every one of these people we're adding in here will increase that chance by another roll per fight. So yeah, new parts are valuable. I just can't point it out enough here. Parts are so versatile. So we're going to use the passive talents here a little bit. Wrath Unchained is going to be useful later as well, because I don't think that it's smart to try to rely on only one damage type. Like, I'm pretty sure you can try to win the game with only stress damage, but I think you're making you're making it harder for yourself than you need to do. So what we're going to do next? So every time a minion misses with an attack, Iratus gains Wrath. That sounds lovely too.
It will be a messy slaughter.
Those passives are adding up quite nicely, and these two spells here are all I need for now. Okay, friends, so I'm going to equip those items during the next episode, and thanks for watching. Feel free to drop me a comment down below if you have anything you want to talk about. I would wildly appreciate thumbs up and subscriptions to my channel if you want to support my work and me a little bit more. If not, just let me say thanks for watching, and I hope you come for the next episode as well, and have a nice day. Goodbye.